يا هلا 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 حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Saturday edition of Let's Talk with me, Julie Alli. On the show today, the Grey Foundation will be coming in to talk about their empowerment work. South Africa will also be joining us to talk about the Muslimah Today conference. And of course, Fatima Asmal, the founder, will be having a lovely chat with us. But right now, we're going to be talking about brain empowerment with Chris Dykes. And not brain empowerment, but brain optimization. But I guess in a sense you could say brain empowerment because it does link in, and we're going to cross over to Chris and talk to him about all of those concepts. Good morning, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Julie.
Before we go to the heart of the matter, which is mind optimization, I said brain empowerment. There's a link, is there not?
You know, I think it's all about the same thing at the end of the day.
So I wasn't wrong in saying that?
No, not at all. It's really how we just use this organ that we have that is so powerful to make a massive impact in our lives and our capacity to achieve our destinies.
Chris, you're very passionate about this work that you're involved in. I mean, we had a long chat earlier on, and I could hear the passion with which you embrace this work. Obviously, there's a story there. How did you come onto this path and touching and changing people's lives in such an amazing way?
Julie, I got to tell you, my mom is an inspiration in my life and always has been. And her dream for me was always education, giving me the best start in life that she could. And she made massive sacrifices as a single mom to raise me and look after me and gave me one of the best educations South Africa has to offer. And the terrible truth is that I blew it. Coming out of school, I didn't fail, but as they say, I got an E for enough. And barely passed matric. In fact, I often think that somebody was looking over me that must have just sort of given me the extra nudge to get through. I was lazy, I procrastinated, but I also was in a pretty bad space emotionally and was struggling. And
struggling because you weren't amounting to much.
Yeah, as fate would have it, I had terrible acne at the time, which was really tough to deal with.
And what a knock to the self-esteem.
Oh, let me tell you, it hurts, and it hurts bad. It's scary. But also, on a personal level, struggling with my own self-identity and, the journey that so many kids go through. And I just happened to really, I had a tough time of it. And the day that I found my matric marks was probably one of the worst days and worst moments in my life, not only because I had done so badly, but also because I let my mom down. And
how did you deal with that situation? Because at the opening of the interview, you spoke about her very highly.
Yeah.
And that's what a tribute to someone that is so prominent in your life.
Yeah.
But way back then, you'd let her down very badly.
Look, she was terribly supportive of me. Another testimony to who she is.
Disappointed but supportive.
Oh yeah. And so at the time, conscription for white guys was compulsory. At the time, it was really only going to jail or not, or going to the army. And I made the decision to be part of the change in South Africa. Mr. Mandela had been released already.
Wow.
And we could see that things were starting to shift. And I thought I'll stand up and be part of that change. And I did exceptionally well in the army. And largely because of how well I did there, I was able to beg my way into university. I literally sat at the door of Wits for about a month until the dean actually gave me a personal dispensation to join Wits at the time to study a BCom. And where the story got really interesting is that in my third year, I failed in the June-July exams. And I didn't fail because I didn't study hard. I did. I studied as hard as I possibly could. I was desperate to succeed. And then ended up failing those exams, and got to the point, where I fundamentally believed that I was dumb. I looked at the people around me and said, what is it that they have that I don't have? What is it that how is their brain working that mine doesn't? And when you get to that level of desperation, it's a tough place to be again. And that's where I got, one of the luckiest times, and I consider myself really blessed in that a number of my lecturers saw, I think, the potential that I had, but also somebody took an interest in my life in terms of study skills and learning methodologies and worked with me. And that year in those November exams, I sat down in my very first exam and I was like, oh my God, I know how to write this paper.
Wow.
And ended up getting something like 93% for that particular exam.
This was at university?
This is my third year university, yeah.
Let me just backtrack.
Okay.
What was so enlightening or so special or so mind-blowing as far as your army experience was concerned that you allowed, obviously, it gave you the confidence to go knock at the dean's door at Wits to get you in?
Yeah. Look, I really sort of came to terms with a lot more of who I was, and also some of the dreams that I had, many of which had been inspired by my mom, and talking about being at university and studying and, fulfilling the destiny, my destiny. But really, I think it was the fact that I had matured to a large extent. And because I had done so well and because I was so persistent, that's when the dean took interest in me. And it's a great life story because persistence can be a very powerful tool, especially if it's persistence that's aligned with a passion, that's in line with an intention, and that intention being pure. And so circumstances sort of collided with this intention that I had, which then opened up that opportunity. And of course, we recognize that in today's world, that's less likely to happen because of how the online process worked. But certainly in other circumstances, I think the lesson is a very true lesson.
You spoke about having failed the exam, and you beat up on yourself, saying that you're dumb.
Yeah.
And then somebody took interest in you and they started teaching you certain skills. Yeah. That brings me to mind optimization. And I'm wondering...
Before we just get to that, if I can just to go back to that one space. So in those exams, not only did I pass all the exams, but I passed them high enough that my aggregate mark was enough to pass me for the year, and to also then qualify me into a limited number of seats available for my honors degree. But something that I'm enormously proud about, and a testimony to my mom again, is that I now have an MBA from Wits, at the time one of the top degrees in the country, but I'm also one of the academic award winners of that year. And so to have come out of a school of failing and struggle and desperation almost, to the point where I have achieved this level of academic success is something I'm enormously proud of.
Congratulations. That's a beautiful story.
It is.
Very inspirational. A lot of people are at loose ends, dropouts. We know what the unemployment rate looks like in the country.
Yes.
We're sitting, Gauteng is burning literally as we speak.
Yes.
But stories like this gives people the inspiration and the hope that if he could have done it, what stops me from doing it? Yeah. And then obviously brings me to mind optimization.
Yes.
What is mind optimization? And I'm kind of wondering, you have children that are born and you see it very early in their personalities that you have a highly intelligent child. You see it in primary schools and high schools as well. Highly intelligent, and that's probably your 20% of kids, then 70% of them being your regular, regular average intelligence, and then the 10% are the below average, whichever way you want to look at the numbers. And those below average battle through life. Some of them will never make anything of themselves. What's going on there that we have these three different intelligent levels. And when we talk mind optimization and the study skills that you alluded to earlier on, do you think we can close those gaps? Is it possible?
Julie, I'm going to say to you that I believe, in fact, I can tell you that I know it's possible. I don't have a degree in psychology and I haven't studied education directly, but I've been involved in teaching and lecturing for pretty much most of my life. And I've seen too many students that have, interacted in one way, one form or another, and our lives have collided, who have shifted their destinies. And, we've coined the term mind optimization, with the principle being that if we're able to optimize how our mind functions and how we use our mind, this is ultimately the very essence of our competitive advantage in life. And certainly as we go into the Industrial Revolution 4.0, we go into what it means to be an entrepreneur 5.0, blah, 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 all these terms, it is the one thing that defines us, our mind.
Okay, we're going to go for an ad break. When we come back, I want to see how you marry your EQ and your IQ, because really mind optimization is about IQ, is it not? Right after the ad break.
Perfect.
I'm talking to Chris Dyke. We are talking mind optimization. Are you one of those averages or below average and feel that your life's going to amount to nothing? Well, stay tuned. We've got good news for you. Chris Dykes is my guest. He's here to talk about learning strategies and mind optimization. Do you want to respond to my question before the ad break, and then we're going to EQ and IQ?
Perfect. Okay, so, I asked the question of the students in my class, how many of you guys struggle with concentration? And, 9 out of 10 kids will put up their hands. And kids, young adults, it really doesn't make a difference at all. And we'll talk about it a little bit, why are people struggling? And they'll say to me, we sit down and within 5 to 10 minutes, our mind is out the window, and we work with it a bit. A couple of minutes later, I asked the question, how many of you guys enjoy video games, using WhatsApp, reading a good book, even a soccer game or something like that? And, of course, everybody has something that catches their attention. And, if we just use video games or our cell phones as a starting point here, we can ask the question, so, how long do you spend on these video games? And it's hours. And my next question is, so where's the concentration problem?
Absolutely. Where is it? Because I have a similar problem. When I sit in conferences, etc., the first 15 minutes and then I'm elsewhere. I'm out of that conference room. And so, immediately the kids get defensive because they're saying, but studying is different. No, it's not different. You either have a concentration problem or you don't. And by what you've explained to me and what you've told me about how you use your video games or WhatsApp or whatever the case may be, there is clearly no problem. In fact, what you've been saying to me is that your brain is incredibly powerful, and it's just how the brain is being used, which means when you're studying and you're studying in what I refer to as a passive modality, your brain gets bored and goes out the window. So what you've actually told me about the fact that you get bored is that you have an incredible brain. Really the key is just starting to say, well, how do we start to use the brain in a more active way that we then start using it more effectively to get better results? And that's the very essence of what I try to do in our learning skills programs, and when we talk to students about how they're learning and how can we make their learning more effective. And ultimately, this was part of my journey of moving from that point of believing that I was dumb into the point where I've now recognized that I'm not necessarily smarter than anybody else, but I'm certainly relatively smart. And that's the essence, is the use of the brain. Okay, so how do we then address the below average, and how do we get the averages up to high level, high intelligence, high achievers?
Okay. Well, the first thing that I would suggest is that I'm not sure there is a below average per se. I think that I've seen people that certainly have to work harder to achieve more. And that's a simple reality. Even if we just take simple, sports as an analogy here, there's people that we're all familiar with who are exceptional sportsmen or women who have a certain gift. There are certain people that likewise use their brain in a certain way that gives them a certain advantage. But for the most part, we're just normal. And it's those normal guys that are going to excel by using their brain more effectively. So if we go into the sports metaphor again, most of us would acknowledge that having a coach is a good thing. If it's learning how to hit a golf ball or kick a soccer ball or whatever the case may be, having somebody help you to do that better, it gives you an advantage. In the mind space, we don't have these coaches that do this. And as a result, we want to now say, using a coach or using a learning methodology, let's get better.
All right, so let's look at mind optimization.
Okay.
And I've just been told we've got about 6 minutes to wrap up time.
Great.
What is it, if I came to you, if you go to a school or a college or a university, what is it that you're going to be doing with these learners to change their thinking and get their brains working optimally?
Okay, so the way that our program is designed is based on what's called a phenomenological principle. And that took me about 3 days to practice before I could even say that word.
I'm not even going to attempt it.
So phenomenological learning is based on active experiential learning. And what we do is we take the students in our program on a one-day course through a journey where we actually use a university textbook and we ask them to study part of this textbook. And what I'm looking for is that aha moment, where somebody moves away from that passive modality of learning into an active modality of learning through the experiential process of saying, how do we use our brain more effectively? And it's quite a fun process, and the feedback that we get out of it is amazing. Maybe just as a case study, I'm currently working with a school up in Madikwe, which is just short of the Botswana border. We're doing it as a case study this year with the view to launch this program in a much wider scale next year. And in this particular school, we've just heard results from the principal a couple of weeks ago that the school has achieved an 80% bachelor pass mark, with the highest aggregate mark that the kids have ever, or that the school has ever achieved, and a level of enthusiasm and commitment that is unprecedented.
Wow.
And
this is applicable to any and every activity in your life?
Yes, it is. I mean, obviously, in this particular instance, we apply it specifically to learning.
Absolutely.
But I'm also involved in entrepreneurial development and corporate strategy and consulting, and I use the basic foundations to enable thinking skills and problem-solving skills. And what's really interesting and what's really exciting is that when we're working with kids, we're also training them in principle to start preparing for a world of work and a world of entrepreneurship, which is also really exciting.
Now, I'm glad to hear, because you actually preempted my next question, that is talking about working in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And the question was, do you work with older people in their 40s, 50s, people that wanting to get maximum benefit out of their work life, and just to start thinking differently so that they can get different and more positive results? So you have answered that. Thank you indeed. How do people get in touch with you?
One, there is a guy called Jim Quick, Kwik, who suffered a brain injury as a child, and he specializes in using memory skills and so on in the corporate space. In fact, he's quite one of the things that makes him famous, that he worked with the X-Men cast, and he's worked with ex-presidents and all kinds of things. That's the kind of work that we do, obviously on a much smaller scale. So yes, is it applicable? Without a question of doubt. Our minds have this enormous capacity, and we now need to tap into what that capacity is.
Well, as you were speaking, what popped into my mind was Maria Montessori. I'm sure you've heard of her teaching skills as well.
Yeah.
How do people get hold of you? And are you only addressing tertiary learners and school learners? People in a private capacity, are they able to access your services as well?
Yeah. So thanks so much. I think the best way of getting hold of us at the moment is on email. results at mind optimization. Results at mind optimization. That would be the best way of getting hold of us. In terms of age groups, typically we tend to focus on sort of high school and university students. What's quite exciting is at the moment we're connecting with hundreds of recruitment agencies at the same time and saying to them, guys, how cool would it be if we can link you into a database of students that have demonstrated a hunger. But earlier we were talking about students that are average or below average. What I'm hearing, and from a lot of my clients, they're saying we're actually not interested in the high-performing guys. What we're more interested in is those people that have demonstrated a hunger to succeed.
Well, Chris, we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
We didn't even touch on IQ and EQ, so we definitely need to get you back in here sometime soon.
Would certainly love to be back.
We've come to the end of the show. I'm so sorry that we've run out of time, but very definitely we need to explore this much, much further.
Would love to.
Thank you for your time.
And thank you for the opportunity as well.
There you have it, Chris Dykes talking to us about mind optimization. And like I said, we've only just scratched the surface. We very definitely are going to have him in again to talk more about this amazing concept. Welcome back. Our final interview, not the final interview, the middle interview for the morning. We are going to be crossing over to Cape Town a little later on to talk to Ilm, South Africa, and the lady there is Fatima Asmal. But right now we have Nafisa Gray and Dineshri Naidu in studio to talk about something very close to their hearts. It's the Gray Foundation, and both these ladies are young professionals in their own right. Assalamu alaikum, good morning, welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you very much.
Now, we're going to talk about the Gray Foundation, but also the fact that you are business partners as well. How did that come about?
So we specialize in the renewable energy sector, and Dineshri is actually a chartered accountant, and we basically had synergy in our different areas, finance, and obviously I've always been in the business environment, and we partnered together and we found that there was synergy in what we wanted to achieve, which is being able to deliver renewable energy solutions into the market, and it just grew from there.
What's your background?
So initially I studied food technology. That was something that my parents pushed me to, and it was something I was just not passionate about. I was always passionate about being in the business environment. So I initially started in the security industry. I built a business that boomed.
Wow.
It basically provided solutions into BP, into Shell, and then I moved into energy because I felt that it was a market that was growing. It's evident till today that the energy sector requires solutions that can provide us alternative power.
Absolutely. We know the danger and the damage and the harm to our environment, which equates into climate change, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Most definitely not.
What's your story? You're a chartered accountant,
I'm
congratulations, and you are her backbone, I should imagine, in the business.
So I started off in Durban, born and bred in Durban, and studied and got my qualification when I moved up to Johannesburg for 15 years now.
You didn't know each other prior to your business partnership?
No, we didn't.
Wow. You've now partnered up both in the business and your CSI project.
Correct.
Nafisa, why have you called it the Gray Foundation?
So, so Gray is basically something that I created, and it just seems something that we wanted to name the foundation after. So my blog on Instagram is called the Gray Blog, and Dinesh, she said, okay, let's just call it the Gray Foundation, because this foundation has been previously running for many, many years. We both have been working with it. We've been supporting previously historically disadvantaged individuals. We've been committed to many aged homes in the Alex area. We've been working with orphanages, and when we decided to register it formally, it just seemed that would be the name that we would go for.
Okay, so why have you guys moved away from working with people in Alexander Township, working with the aged, etc., and you've now gone into this area supplying sanitary ware to possibly disadvantaged schoolgirls, not only locally but in rural areas as well?
So I wouldn't say we've moved away, because to date we still support the homes that we took on from day one. They're very, very close to our heart, and recently we were with them a month ago actually. But our work has taken us to many, many schools around the country, and it's very, very sad to see the situation of what young schoolgirls grow up under. And we discovered that when we look at the wish lists that are provided to us, sanitary pads were one of the top requirements. And you know, it was something that when we grew up, it was something we never had to ask for. It was always given to us, and we took it for granted our whole entire lives. And being mothers ourselves, you know, it's something that our daughters never have to worry about.
Absolutely.
And when you realize that this is not a necessity, this is a basic luxury to these girls. And we decided to do a little bit more investigation into it and realize that these girls firstly miss 3 to 4 days of school every single month. Apart from that, they use unhygienic items, and when they utilize these unhygienic items, they end up with infections which just exacerbate the problem. And you know, when we think about our kids, when my kid misses 3 days of school, the teacher turns around and tells me she's missed like a month's work of school. This is like normal for a girl without sanitary pads every single month. So we decided that let's take on a cause where it can be measured across a girl's schooling life, because if we are able to keep them for those 3 days of school every single month, it's going to make a huge change in their lives.
Absolutely. So Dineshri, as a chartered accountant and as Nafisa's business partner, how do you buy into this CSI concept? Do you believe that it's the right road you guys are on?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the need, with our discussions with Department of Education, it's actually critical at this point. So definitely we feel that it is one of the
She talked about the Department of Education. Have you actually partnered with them to identify needy schools?
So we have a partnership agreement with the Department of Education. So before just embarking on this project, we did a lot of groundwork with the DOE, and we wanted to understand what we were going into before just embarking on this project. Firstly, the schools, the situation of the girls, the home environments they live in, the schools that we needed to take on. And we wanted to understand like what was the monster that we were getting into. And we firmly believe that girls are the future of our country. They are the future leaders, and we need to support them. We need to ensure that firstly they finish school, and they finish school under the best ability that they can. And by providing them sanitary pads, by giving them the ability to finish their schooling days, it's going to assist them and help them.
As a chartered accountant, you the number cruncher.
Yes.
So what sort of numbers are we looking at here? How many schools have you guys targeted? How many children or girl children have you already started supplying is it called Nandi?
Yes, Nandi.
Nandi. The
Yes.
Nandi sanitary pads.
So we actually got our first rollout at Deep Sloot Secondary. The numbers are there's about 580 girls
within the school.
Yes, girls within the school, and we've started our rollout about a month ago. And our goal is to actually complete the entire school.
So that school has been signed on by the Gray Foundation, and the contract that we've signed with the school is to take those girls right through the education. So that school is already covered by the Gray Foundation. It is sponsored, it's covered by the Gray Foundation. Our goal now is to take on another school with another batch of learners. So
from the time the girl starts her first period till she leaves school, which is what, 5-6 years of schooling?
Yes, correct.
Are you going to hold her hand through that entire period and supply her with sanitary wear?
Yes, so when we signed the school on, we got the entire list of learners that are going to be sponsored, and each one of those learners are provided sanitary pads on a monthly basis by the Gray Foundation. So our goal is that when we move from school to school, every single learner that we take on as the Grey Foundation, those learners are handheld throughout their schooling career.
As far as this issue is concerned,
Yes.
their monthly period.
Yes.
You're sitting with a very attractive box on your lap. It's the
Yes.
Nandi Premium Protection Sanitary
Yes.
Pads. What do you want to tell us about all of that? What is so unique about this product? And then Nafisa, we'll come back to you later to talk about the research that went into
Yes.
the production of these sanitary towels.
So this is our product, and as you
Beautifully
can
packed,
see,
I might
yes,
add.
we wanted to give a quality product back to the girls. So this box is a dispenser. So, and we've got 5 heavy flow and 5 normal flow pads in here, which is obviously it's different to your normal set of pads. Then if you open the box, the pad has stickers on it, and each pad has a motivational sticker. So
Wow.
it's just
Can we-
something.
would you
yes.
want to read that to us?
Yeah. So
Okay, I'll leave it with you, and I see all the sayings are by Maya Angelou. Do you want to read that out
yes.
to us?
So for instance, one is nothing can dim the light that shines from within.
Wow.
And then the other one is the only person you need to be better than is the one you were yesterday. So each
Great.
one has a different motivational
So
sticker.
who sits down and comes up with these motivational motivational sayings and then decide this is what's going into the packs this month?
So one of the unique parts about our box of pads is that as entrepreneurs, we all like resonate with certain quotes that have helped us to get to where we are today. I mean, none of us are just like overnight, success stories. We've had to like struggle to get where we are today. Nothing was handed to us. And, there's quotes that resonate to us that have made us who we are, that have given us strength in moments. And we've taken all those quotes and then we've put them into these boxes because we wanted to give love to these girls. We wanted to tell them
Absolutely.
that, listen here, no matter what situation you're facing, there's always hope in a day. And we wanted them to open up a pad and read it and
feel good about
Yes,
themselves. Okay,
exactly.
let's go for our first ad break. I have Nafisa and Dineshri to talk about the Grey Foundation. Don't go away. We'll be back in a minute or two to continue this discussion. Nafisa and Dineshri from the Grey Foundation are here to talk about their CSI project. Very noble effort indeed. It's distributing of sanitary towels or sanitary wear to disadvantaged teenagers or disadvantaged girls. Now, the big question is obviously renewable energy. A lot of people are, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that have come into this space by giving out sanitary wear to disadvantaged girls. A lot of people are giving out those little cups which you can rinse out and reuse, and I think the lifespan of the cup is about 10 years. Then there's also the renewable or reusable sanitary pads. Why have you not gone for that option?
I'm so glad you asked us that question. We think those solutions are absolutely amazing, especially given the fact that they have such long-term use. And one of the when we embarked on this solution, we wanted to go for those solutions. But when we sat with DOE, we had to be also cognizant of some of the environments that these girls live under, and some of them don't have access to running water. The schools that one of the schools that we provide these solutions to get water from a JoJo tank, and the toilet situation is really, really rough. It's not a pleasant toilet. Now, those cups you need time to be able to insert them and to remove them and to clean them. What we also understood was that the rewashable pads need to be washed with a certain amount of water. They need to be hanged outside to dry. And what we discovered that certain girls were washing them and putting them under their beds to dry, and they were getting infections from them. So you also need to be cognizant about the fact that they need access to clean running water to be able to utilize their solutions. And if they don't, then you have the problem of infections coming in. So we didn't want want to provide a solution where the possible
Make it difficult for them.
So we do think those solutions are absolutely amazing, but I think that right now with schools that we are working on, they just don't work.
Okay, brilliant. Your packaging is gorgeous. It just jumps out at you.
Thank you.
Now, I'm wondering about cost implications here with packaging, and could the money not be utilized in providing more sanitary towels to more needy girls?
So right now, given the fact that we are in the energy sector and renewable energy is very important to us, and the environment is very important to us, we're looking at ways to be able to be more kinder to the environment. So we wanted
and you
to,
are in that space.
Yes. We wanted to initially utilize plastic because it was much more cheaper. However, the problem was that plastic was not biodegradable. And we wanted to obviously go immediately the biodegradable route, but that posed a very costly problem for us because you would not be able to reach the girls consistently.
Or as many girls.
And as many girls as possible. So we went the cardboard route for the interim until we can find a route where we were able to reach the girls that we want to and still be kind to the environment.
Another important thing is education. If these girls are not educated in the use of these sanitary towels or sanitary pads in terms of how to use them, how to dispose of them, you're going to create another added problem. What are you doing in that space?
So we provide a holistic approach when we hand out the pads. We are all about hand-holding the girls. So before we even hand out the pads, we do training with the girls. We've partnered with a company and they do the education behind the firstly menstruation and how to utilize the pads and dispose of the pads. So we not only do the education once, so we come back in 3 months' time, we speak to the counselors as well as the principal to find out, have the girls been following what we educated them on? If not, do we need to speak to them again? And then if we need to speak to them again, we're happy to do it again. And we're going to do this every 3 months. So it's all about hand-holding them. I mean, we want to look at them as our own daughters, and it's all about measuring success. We want to know that at the end of their schooling career, we can measure what we've delivered.
Okay, now how friendly is this going to be as far as the environment is concerned? How do they dispose of them and still be environmentally friendly?
So this is basically like the pads that I would use myself. So you have to dispose it the exact way that I would dispose my own pads, which is to roll it up and dispose of it in the bin. And that is what we are teaching the girls to do. So, you know, I'm pretty realistic about utilizing pads. Right now, the pads that are available on our shelves are not biodegradable, but how we utilize disposing of them is very important on being environmentally friendly. And as long as you can educate the learners on disposing them correctly, then it won't end up in the wrong, areas.
Absolutely.
So, we've done something with our pads to make it a bit more fun for the learners. The sticker has a twofold benefit. So you actually can tear off the sticker.
And we've talked about the motivational sayings already.
So it kind of forces them to utilize this and look at it. So once they finish, you open the pad, they
reuse that.
Yes,
dispose.
And then when they roll it up, they utilize the sticker to seal it up, and then they dispose of it. And all of this is done when we do the talks with the girls.
So even when your bin gets collected, it's done in a very responsible way, and the people that are emptying the bins are not offended by all the nonsense that they see coming out of your bin.
And we've spoken to them about those things.
So Nafisa, what do your future initiatives look like?
So currently we've got 2 initiatives that are rolling out next week. We are very, very grateful to be supported by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking. They supported us from day one when the Grey Foundation was initiated.
Wow.
So they are supporting us on the 12th of September. September. Am I right, Dineshri?
Yeah.
It's going to be at the Equinox Room at Absa Towers, and it's basically a day where we've got some influential individuals coming through, where the Grey Foundation is basically introduced to them, and we would like to get them to sponsor and participate. And
so further your reach as far as helping girls are concerned.
Yes.
And the other initiative?
The other initiative, Dineshri will take you through it.
Okay, so fun event on the 14th of September at the Maslow Hotel. It's a fitness event.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's going to be hosted by Kayla Jane, which is she's a personal trainer, and it's just it's a
fun day.
Fun day.
So who
yeah.
should be attending?
Anyone and everyone.
that wants to.
So Sun
yeah.
International actually sponsored the venue for this event. So we've got a lot of corporates that, are synonymous with our drive. So
How do people get tickets to attend the event?
So they can go to our Instagram page, which is @FoundationTheGrey, or they can email us at sponsor@greyfoundation.co.za, or visit our website, which is www.greyfoundation.co.za, and they can just sign up.
And they'll then get entry into the event.
Yes.
What's the drive behind that? What are you hoping to achieve by having this event?
Look, we just want to get some, we just want to get foot traffic in, just people to notice the foundation, have
wow.
fun, and in doing so, give back to uplifting girls.
Brilliant. We've come almost to the end of the show. Let me come to you first, Dineshri. What do you want to say to our viewers and those people who may want to become involved in the Grey Foundation?
Say, just try and support us. I mean, it's a really great initiative, and it's for the greater betterment for the country. So definitely get involved.
Final words from you, Nafisa.
I think that, we need to look at the young girls of our country as our future leaders.
Absolutely.
And I think that we all have a responsibility within ourselves to give back. And, I always say that, when we are empowered, it's our responsibility to empower another. So when we empower that individual, one day they grow up to empower another. So, step up and make a change.
Well said. Thank you indeed. Amazing initiative, and I wish you guys lots and lots and lots of future success. Thank you so very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
There you have it, the Grey Foundation talking about their initiative, supplying sanitary wear to disadvantaged girls. And if you want to become involved with them, please just visit their website pages and perhaps even attend the fun day that's happening on the 14th at the Maslow. And finally, we're going to be taking a sneak peek into an amazing conference that's happening on the 15th of September at the Durban Botanical Gardens Conference Centre, starting at 8 in the morning, finishing off at 5, and it's being put on by ILM South Africa. What we're going to be seeing now is all the amazing speakers that are going to keep you motivated, inspired, and entertained on the day. So do enjoy.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have you heard about Muslimah Today 2019? It will be taking place on the 15th of September at the Durban Botanical Gardens. Well, today we chat to some of the ladies involved who will give us an inside scoop of this event. As you know, ILM SA is the host for Muslimah Today, and we're now joined by Fatima Asmal, who is the founder of ILM SA. Assalamu alaikum, Fatima.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Laika.
Shukran for taking the time to speak to us today.
Afwan, it's an absolute pleasure, alhamdulillah.
So what is Muslimah Today all about?
Muslimah Today is basically a conference, but not in the academic sense. I would say it's a spiritually uplifting, inspirational event organized by women, for women of all walks of life, and featuring a range of amazing, dynamic, inspirational women speakers. It's also a platform whereby women from different cultural, income, age, and other backgrounds, educational backgrounds, can interact with one another and network and just walk away trying to be the best version of themselves while simultaneously spoilt in a number of different ways on the day.
That's so exciting. And how many years has this event been taking place for?
Alhamdulillah, we're now in our 8th year, so we've had 7
Mashallah.
Muslimah Today conferences so far.
And why did SA find the need for an event of this nature to take place?
LMSA is a woman-led organization. I founded it and I run it with my best friend Azra. She's a co-trustee. And we always felt, as a woman-led organization, that women are often marginalized in the community. It may not be so now as much as it was before, but certainly when we started Muslimah Today, it was. And you often find that even when it comes to Muslim women-related issues in the mainstream media and in the Islamic media, you may find males speaking on behalf of Muslim women. And we felt, why does that have to be the case? We have so many inspirational Muslim women within our community. Why not give them a platform to share their experiences, to share their knowledge, to make a contribution and to showcase their contributions? And this is why the idea for Muslimah Today was conceptualized. We weren't sure how it was going to be received by the community, but alhamdulillah, the response was phenomenal. Not in the sense that the venue gets filled, because we haven't been able to achieve that, but in the sense that it's a broad spectrum of women who attend. You will have your upper to middle income women coming from Westville or Sherwood. You will have your pensioner coming from Overport or some other area. You will have your sister taking a bus and coming all the way from Soweto. It's just been amazing in the sense that such a diversity of women have embraced the concept and support it and look forward to it every year.
So how do people get or gain entry into this event? Are there ticket sales or how does it work?
Okay, so because it's not a fundraising dinner or a show, it's actually a full day conference. It doesn't work on a ticketing system. It basically works on an online registration system. So you go online, you register. When you register, you indicate your meal preferences because meals are provided. You also indicate whether you require a sponsorship or not. And then if you don't require a sponsorship, you're given details on how to make payments. And if you do require a sponsorship, we source a sponsorship for you, and thereafter you receive a confirmation message. The link to register is a bit complicated, so I think people should refer to what they see on the screen in order to register, or they could simply send me a WhatsApp at 083-271-4500.
And what is the fee involved?
Okay, so it's 300 rands, including a really nice scrumptious lunch, a goodie bag which has a lot of really amazing items in it. This year women are going to be receiving 2 goodie bags, inshallah, thanks to the generosity of some donors, and it of course also gives you full entry into the conference, an opportunity to meet other sisters, interact with the speakers, listen to them, and also do a little bit of shopping, because we do provide a platform for a few women to sell their products or market their products.
Okay, and just at the top of your head, who are some of the speakers that would be at this event and what are the topics that they're covering?
Okay, so alhamdulillah, we have 11 speakers this year. I have a favorite. She's very close to my heart. Her name is Radia Bawa Hendricks. She's a Hafidha and she's the founder and director of an institute in Cape Town called Zahra Institute. It's really amazing. It teaches women how to understand the Quran through the Arabic language, and she started memorizing the Quran when she was 3. She completed when she was 9. She's just phenomenal, matriculated at 15. Just amazing. So she comes in with the spiritual aspect, and what I'm very excited about is she won't just be speaking this year. She'll be doing the opening qira'ah, the closing dua, but also between talks she's going to be doing a dhikr of the Asma'ul Husna. So different names of Allah relevant to that particular topic that the women have just heard about. She'll be doing a dhikr about that topic.
So beautiful. And quickly, for those that are still undecided on whether they should attend or not, what would you like to tell them just to push them into coming out here?
I would quote a woman who attended last year for the first time. She actually came to help. And after the conference, I asked her what she thought, and she started crying. And she said she was gobsmacked. It was life-changing, it was life-altering, and it was the best thing she had ever done for herself. And I asked her why, and she said, I've never seen anything like this before. This was true Islam, and this was true sisterhood. And I would say if you want to experience true Islam without any cultural, economic, racial barriers, then this is the place for you to come to.
MashaAllah. I can already see this event being a success, and shukran so much for speaking to us today.
Jazakallahu khairan for your time.
Aisha Milanzi was born and raised in a Muslim community. Consequently, university was her first experience of the bigger world. A final year law student, she initially felt overwhelmed, but through speaking about her situation, she has managed to strike a balance between her various identities and is keen to assist other young Muslims and their parents who face the same challenges as she did. She is an honorary member of the Golden Key Society. Assalamu alaikum, Aisha.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you doing, like?
Alhamdulillah. So last year marked the first year that you attended Muslimah Today. How was that experience for you?
It was definitely exhilarating knowing that there's a lot of Muslimas in Durban, first of all, because I'm actually from Maritzburg. So it was a learning experience, it was refreshing, it was new, and most importantly, it was a lot of fun. And I think any aspects wherein you can enjoy education as well as fun, it makes it a whole better learning experience.
And what were some of the things that you learned from last year's event?
I learned a lot of things, so I'm trying to think of one thing that particularly stood out for me. I'd definitely say that there was a speaker last year that came to share her grief on losing her child, you know. And I thought that was a very important topic because it's not everybody that's brave enough to come forth and share their experience and how they were able to overcome grief, you know. And in life, grief is something that we are always going to experience. So I definitely took hints from her and learned a lot on how to deal with different emotions and so forth.
I was very fascinated when I heard of your topic, which is Chronicles of Being a Muslimah at University, something very current, something all Muslimas can relate to being in university, and you're going to be focusing on how to balance deen and dunya. Yes. So which aspects do you think is most important for our Muslimas at university?
I think it's very important for our Muslims to know that it's absolutely okay and acceptable for a person to still remain true to who they are. When you come into the university system, there's always that stigma attached that you have to be a certain type of way, you have to look a certain type of way. Suddenly the hijab is not something so acceptable, you know. So my topic will basically be focusing on that, saying that it's okay for you to still be comfortable in your own skin, and for us to always remember that our first identity will always be Muslim girls.
Alhamdulillah. So when you were at university, you studied at?
Howard,
UKZN. Alhamdulillah. Was the Muslim community, were you able to identify the Muslimas or not?
It took me a while, and I think I met most of them at the JK, which is the Jamaat Khana. My year, I know particularly my friend, Sakina, she happens to be the first Muslim girl that I met. The first person I spoke to on campus because she was in hijab. So I felt like we instantly had that connection. 4 years later, we're still friends. And I think as the days go by, because your first day you're nervous, you don't know where the lecture rooms are, you're still trying to find your footing. So after a while, once you get inducted into the university system, you meet everyone, and alhamdulillah, now I can identify the Muslim community around us. I firmly believe that, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, you know. I'm somebody that's a product of Miss Nasim Abu Sanzaf, the Willerton Bursary and Gift of the Givers, you know. So they have blessed me enough to educate me. And Muslimah Today was just like the cherry on top of the cake, you know. I've been able to learn. And like I'm saying, it's always so beautiful to learn amongst your own people because it comes with that sense of comfortability and it's so serene and peaceful.
Meet Zakia Mita, the founder of the famous Sugarlicious dessert brand. Sugarlicious is an artisanal dessert company which introduced the first ice cream macaron to the South African market. Having always had a passion for baking, Zakia began selling French macarons at a local market in 2013. She introduced the ice cream macaron in 2015 and began training as a chef. Since then, the company has grown exponentially and boasts 2 retail stores with a total staff complement of 20. Assalamu alaikum, Zakia, and shukran for speaking to us today.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
I must say, it's such a treat to speak to you because you are Sugarlicious. So you've attended Muslimah Today for the first time last year.
I did a few before that, but last year was also was the most recent one, and it was absolutely amazing. The feeling of sisterhood and connecting with other people and hearing real life experiences and connecting and have empathy and learning from other Muslimas was amazing.
Was amazing. And what were some of the speakers that stood out for you at last year's event?
I think Fatima Juma spoke about losing her daughter, which was very emotional. Aisha Milanzi spoke as well a bit about her campus life and being a Muslima first. That was that stood out for me a lot, because in life I feel like we are Muslim first before anything else, any of the other titles we have. There were quite a few speakers actually. Radia Bawa Hendricks, subhanAllah, she's amazing. There was someone who did Tajweed, I think Qiraat, and all different types of Qiraat as well. That was very informative.
It must have been so good, and it's all different personalities coming together that are Muslimas.
Yes.
So, Zakia, your topic for this year's event is Inspiring the Homegrown Business, where you speak about your Sugarlicious brand developing from a home industry into something that it is today. Which aspects of your journey are you going to highlight?
So I'm going to speak about the challenges, the ups and the downs, and the reality behind it, the behind the scenes of what it takes to build a brand, and the lessons I learned. And I hope someone can take away from that, and someone can be inspired by that and realize that if me as a normal person could do it, everyone can, you know.
Alhamdulillah. And Sugarlicious just started as a home industry, and look at what it is today. I think that's so remarkable. There were surely a few challenges that you experienced along the way. So just as a teaser, what were one of the challenges that you experienced?
One of our biggest challenges, I think, was till last year around October I was working from home.
Okay.
That in itself meant my home was completely overtaken with business, except for the bed, and I literally had no other furniture in my house.
So there's definitely a lot of challenges along the way, and I think your message is so powerful to give hope to other home industries out there. But I'm just curious to know, how did you come up with creating an ice cream macaron? Making a macaron is so challenging. So how did you come up with this?
I think I was just obsessed with perfecting the macaron initially, and I started off with that. And I saw that internationally, 1 or 2 people had put ice cream in a macaron, and I wanted to taste that. And that actually, I was inspired by my tummy. Me wanting to eat it myself is what made me make it, and for the family. And everyone thoroughly enjoyed it. And we realized that, you know what, there's no one else doing it in South Africa. And
wow,
why not?
So inspiration definitely comes from anywhere, and you found it in your tummy. That's so good. How long has it taken you to perfect this?
The macaron itself took me almost a year. Honestly, the first time I made it, it was a success, but the second time I made it, it had flopped. And I wasn't used to that, so I took it as a challenge to myself to perfect it to the point that I got it right every time. So I would literally be sitting in front of my oven watching it, and I'd phone my husband disappointed, or when it eventually did get feet, which is what makes a good macaron, I was like, my macarons have feet, and he's like, I'm in the middle of a day, what are you going on about?
Naimat Rabubi is a writer, copy editor, and a radio show presenter. She has seen education reduce bigotry and prejudice to ashes, and is a huge believer in the power of the written word. Her novels attempt to write people like herself into fiction without reducing them to caricatures. In her spare time, she runs the blog The Imperfect Muslima, where she writes about topics like self-esteem, burnout, and gratitude. Naimat journals herself and has personal experience with using the written word to work through mental health struggles. Assalamu alaikum, Naimat Rabubi, and shukran for speaking to us today.
Assalamu alaikum, Laika. Jazakallah for having me.
Okay, so you've attended Muslimah Today for the first time last year. What was this experience for you?
It was transformative, I would say. I had never been to a conference that had such a wealth of knowledge being shared. The speakers were incredibly diverse, and I found that to be really amazing, because usually at a conference there's an overarching theme that makes it sort of boxed in. But with Muslimah Today, the focus was really on the sisters themselves being able to impart things that were valuable. And the other thing that I really, really loved about it was that after every single talk, there was a chance to interact with the speaker. And then the speakers were also there for the rest of the conference. So if you got to speak to them in a break or things like that, it was a really lovely, almost organic way to speak to somebody who had just an incredible wealth of knowledge with them. So that was really amazing.
Okay, and you blog under the title The Imperfect Muslimah. That's quite interesting.
That's right.
What was the motivation behind your title?
Okay, so I began The Imperfect Muslimah as a way for me to work through depression and anxiety and that kind of thing. And the title was born from the fact that I wanted to take back imperfection, because we're taught that imperfection is a bad thing. It's something that we need to be afraid of and ashamed of. But as human beings, we are all imperfect, and we should embrace our flaws and our imperfections, because they're not bad traits, they're just a part of life.
And the topic that you are discussing at this year's event would be?
Okay, so my topic for this year is writing as a tool of change, and the slug of it really is write your truth. And the reason for that is that I think writing is an incredible tool that we can use either to change ourselves and help ourselves, or even to help and change other people and the environment around us. I don't think that we really give enough value to the fact that writing and stories really can change the world. I mean, when I began writing books, it was because I wanted to see people like myself in situations. And it was amazing to me. And then through writing, I found other people who identified with the stories that I was telling and who found value in them and who found that representation to be really validating for themselves. And so I think that everyone needs to take hold of that tool and to use their power for themselves.
And do you find lately that a lot of Muslim women are starting to write now?
Absolutely, it's amazing. And I think that we're seeing it a lot more because of tools like social media and the fact that there are people who have been able to publish with indie publishers and that the world is just opening up to us. Before, there was a lot of worry about the fact that you would be exposing yourself, and I don't know why that was, but that was a lot of the train of thought, that you'll be exposing yourself, that it's not really very modest or things like that. But that's not what it's about at all. It's just that you have a story to tell, and I think that everybody does have a story to tell. And to be able for Muslim women to be able to find that, and to be able to find that there's a market for what they want to write, there's a market for the stories that they want to tell, has been really, really amazing. And so we've got a lot more these days.
So for those ladies that are at home and still undecided as to whether they should attend Muslimat Today on the 15th of September, what would you like to tell them?
Just, it's an amazing experience, and it's an amazing environment where people get to be free and to have conversations that we don't really usually have the space for. Even if you're not interested in writing, there are women who are talking about, all sorts of other things. There are women who are talking about their businesses and how they've been able to develop, and women who are talking about all their personal struggles through illness, through all sorts of other things. And I think that there's something for everyone, and I think that's the beauty of Muslimah Today, that there is something for everyone. So just come and wait and see what amazing things you'll be discovering.
The feeling of sisterhood is the most amazing feeling. The learning from other people, listening to real life stories of people around us, people in our own community, and connecting with them. I think that's, please come for that, if nothing else.
So to all those that are still conflicted, I say come join us, learn, meet new people, and stay true to your identity, because that's exactly what Muslimah Today is. For Muslims, to the Muslims, by the Muslimas.
Well, there you have it, ladies. If you haven't already went onto the link and registered, now this is your chance to go there and get registering. Real life, authentic experiences, tips of the trade, and a sisterhood that's going to be created here on the 15th of September at the Durban Botanical Gardens. There's also not one, but 2 free gift bags. I will see you there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And that brings us to the end of the show today. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed our company as much as we've enjoyed having you here, watching all the interesting interviews. Please take care on the roads. A big thank you to the production team. Until the next time, as always, it is Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Alli.
Ya hala, ya hala.